Welcome again to another edition of Paul's View. I am Paul Schwartz. Today's topic is controlling the narrative. As we approach the 2020 election, controlling the narrative will be critical. And nobody controls the narrative better than the Republicans. If you remember back in 2004, to disparage the record of war hero John Kerry, all of a sudden a 40-year issue, Swift Boat, became the number one talking point. They controlled the narrative in 2004, and again in 2016 they controlled the narrative, and it was all about Hillary's email management, or lack thereof. Even today they throw out the barb about Democrats are for open borders. Democrats are not for open borders. Instead of Democrats, though, just saying, we're not for open borders, maybe they should attack back once in a while and accuse the other side, the Republicans and Trump, of being for closed borders, especially against those who are coming across the border with brown skin. The label to look for in 2020 is socialism. If you recall back just a couple of weeks ago during the Mueller hearing, John Radcliffe, who is now Trump's nominee for Director of National Intelligence, he was on the panel and he referred to the other side as Democrats and socialists. Controlling the narrative is about putting the other side on the defensive. And maybe, just maybe, it would have been good for the other side to fight back when they're called socialists, to call the other side the party of oligarchs, autocrats, maybe even fascists. The reality is that even the self-described democratic socialist Bernie Sanders fails to meet the true definition of what a socialist is. The literal meaning of socialist or socialism is that the government controls both the production and distribution. In other words, the ownership is with the government rather than with the private sector. That is not what we have in this capitalist society, nor will it ever be. The word socialism in today's society is often misunderstood to mean any government controls or actions that impact the free market. In that regard, every time a safeguard has been put into place for the safety and benefit of our citizens, it has added a socialist element to our capitalist society. The capitalism envisioned by economist Adam Smith saw the potential of small businesses growing into large successful ones and the benefit of laissez-faire, let alone, on the part of the government to allow these small businesses to flourish. It did not quite clearly envision the socialist bailouts of the too-big-to-fail corporate giants by the government with taxpayer money. It also quite apparently did not foresee the need for protections for citizens from the greed of big business. Without the socialist New Deal legislation championed by President Franklin D. Roosevelt during the Great Depression of the 1930s, we would not have the safety net for our senior population that is Social Security. The Social Security Act of 1935 also established unemployment insurance so that individuals who lose their jobs would not also lose their homes. Without the New Deal legislation, we would not have the Fair Labor Standards Act, which provided an 8-hour workday or a 40-hour work week, established a national minimum wage and the ability to earn overtime pay, and placed restraints on child labor. The National Labor Relations Act of 1935 set rules for collective bargaining. Of course, the socialism found in today's society is not limited to the 1930s and the aftermath of the Great Depression. The Equal Pay Act of 1963, which was mentioned at yesterday's debate, was passed to make it illegal to pay workers lower wages on the basis of gender. The Age Discrimination Act of 1967 prohibited employment discrimination against persons 40 years of age or older, and all candidates except for Pete Buttigieg should cherish that one. It doesn't stop there. Medicare is a socialist program that provides health care for our senior population. Farm subsidies is a socialist, quote-unquote, program in which the government pays farmers to help stabilize the food supply of providing a financial safety net for farmers. Is there any farmer who will return any of the $7.7 billion bailout by the Department of Agriculture to mitigate the harm caused to farmers by the Trump tariff trade war with China. I doubt it. The point of all of this is that we live in a capitalist society with the need for socialist protections. The problem occurs when the regulations designed to provide those protections are dismantled, thereby leaving that workforce and the other members of society more vulnerable. That is exactly what has been happening over the last 35 years, the step-by-step dismantling of safeguards. Contrary to Michael Douglas's character in the movie Wall Street, greed is not good. Income inequality has not been this great since prior to the stock market crash of 1929 and the onset of the Great Depression. Today, the top 400 wealthiest Americans account for as much wealth as the bottom 155 million Americans. There is no trickle in trickle-down economics. We need socialism and capitalism to work hand in hand to ensure that one does not overtake the other. So, when Democratic candidates like the ones you saw the last 2 days on the debate stage bring to the 2020 campaign a vision that includes universal health care, or addresses income inequality, or affordable college, don't easily dismiss that vision with the Republican attack line, socialism. Neither socialism nor capitalism are in and of themselves bad words. It is only when the concepts are misused by those who put their own self-interest ahead of the interests of society that they become so. That's it for this edition of Paul's View. Hope to see you next week.